The next category that I will assess is work environment. For Morgan Stanley, I give them a 9 for work environment because they have many positive attributes of the company culture, and all of these positive attributes nearly outweigh the downside of the company culture. Some of the positives are that a lot of people feel like they've gained so much knowledge and practical experience from their time at Morgan Stanley. They also admire their CEO, and the CEO brings out the best in them. The investment bankers are often of similar personalities, so they get along very well. And the biggest upside is that at Morgan Stanley, they have a really good work life balance. For Goldman Sachs, it's the exact opposite. Their downfall is the work life balance. At Goldman Sachs, some people often wake up in the middle of the night stressing about what they did at work that day. However, at Goldman Sachs, everybody is very, very intelligent, and so they like how they drive each other. It's much more competitive than Morgan Stanley. I rate Goldman Sachs as a 7 due to the stress and hours offset by the upward mobility nature of the firm. Overall, both firms have a variety of unique and beneficial aspects of community culture, but the environment at both firms can be improved. Morgan Stanley ranks slightly better than Goldman Sachs due to its work and life balance. Morgan Stanley seems to have more positive than negative elements in its community culture, whereas the pros and cons are nearly even for Goldman Sachs. Although for this criterion, I recommend Morgan Stanley over Goldman Sachs for the average hotellerie graduate. I think that if you're a person driven by competition and constant demands, Goldman Sachs might be a better fit for you. The next category is total compensation. This is a graph that shows the salary, the bonuses, and other benefits such as paid maternity leave or vacation time. Morgan Stanley is at 10. I haven't heard of any other corporation that does better than where the first year employees do better at any other firm. At Morgan Stanley, they get about $250,000 in benefits, salaries, and bonuses after the first year. This is crazy. For Goldman Sachs, they get around $160,000 or $190,000, which is still really good, but it's not as good as Morgan Stanley. As a result, Morgan Stanley ranks 3 parts above Goldman Sachs for this criterion. Investment banking analysts at Morgan Stanley receive an outrageously high compensation package. And although investment banking analysts are paid less at Goldman Sachs, they still receive compensation well over double the average. The next category is innovation. I rate Morgan Stanley at an 8 because it is not only promoting innovation within the firm, but it is also employing its resources to help underrepresented minorities innovate. Evidently, the firm is serious about this program as the firm continues to support it, even when they're losing resources to COVID-19. I also rank innovation as an 8 for Goldman Sachs. It is very important for most of these highly driven and intelligent employees at Goldman Sachs to feel like their ideas are heard and granted. The GS Accelerate is a great way to give these employees a voice in the company and in the mutual gain system. Finally, the last category is public relations. I rate Morgan Stanley a 4 for public relations because of negative elements of the firm appear in the news more than its positive elements. It says a lot about a company's values when it decides against firing an abusive man. Morgan Stanley is not taking a stand against domestic abuse nor supporting feminism by refusing to find the abusive broker. Instead of appealing to the Trump administration for financial reasons, maybe Morgan Stanley should try standing up for more women in a socially dominated society by men. I rate Goldman Sachs as a 6 for public relations because its reputations weren't very good in the past, but its reputations have since gotten a lot better. People really like the CEO, Solomon, and he's doing great for the company image and the company ethics.